Hey there, and welcome to the Music Career Study Group. It's our weekly time to get together as artists and musicians to share ideas, learn from one another, and dive into certain topics. While we're getting settled in, go ahead and say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, and we would love it if you would like and share the video so other artists will join in, because that makes it more fun. It's a place, like I said, where we learn from each other, we compare notes, just like a study group, and we help each other move our music careers forward. My name is Kevin. Joining me is Chris. Chris, I'm a little thrown because you're on the right side on my screen this time. Normally
I don't
I'm
know
on
why
the.
that happened, but
I don't
yeah.
know. It's just the opposite day, I
Hey,
guess.
you know what? I think I can do this. Watch this.
Oh wow!
So
Now,
are you more comfortable now?
I feel better now.
Everything's all right? Okay, good.
All right. And today we are going to be talking about how to plan, launch, and promote your next single in 2025. It's going to be a good one. We've got some great things to discuss, some ideas, some tips and tricks. And I hope as you're entering into 2025, releasing lots of music is on your mind. Chris, that's what I've been doing. I've been recording like a madman lately. I don't know what's gotten into me, but I'm having the best time of my life recording and putting tracks down. And how about you?
Yeah, I've been recording, I would say, more since October, a lot more than I had in the past year or two. And I think I'm going to do the thing where I release, I'm working on it as an album, but I'm probably going to end up releasing a lot of singles and then kind of bundle them together. So I'll probably have to practice a bit of what we're preaching today. Also,
Yeah.
hello, Malia.
Yes. Again, if you're just joining us, weigh in on the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. If you have a question about releasing a single, maybe you've released one before and you're like, that didn't go like I'd hoped it had, or you had some success. We want to hear about that too, because that's what this is all about. It's all about learning from each other. And Miles in Iowa. Good to see you, Miles. Yeah, and it's already been 2025 is set to not disappoint.
in terms of dramatic news, or
if you're somebody that likes a wild ride, buckle up. Here we go. But I'm super excited about releasing music, making music, and I hope you are too. And again, if you're just joining us, say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. If you have a question about releasing music, releasing a single, or you had some success, weigh in. Where are we going to start with this conversation, Chris?
I think as an intro to why we have this conversation is that I think you and I have realized after releasing a whole lot of music over the years, in some ways it never, it does get easier. I shouldn't say it never gets easier, but there's always some new thing to consider, a new platform, a new trend, or there's some snag you didn't plan for, or because you don't do it often enough, you forget something, or we're rushing. There's a lot of reasons why it's never just simple and easy. So we were like, let's talk about that, and let's talk through some of the things that people really should dig into before they put out new music this year, because the landscape continually changes, so it's worth reinvestigating.
Yeah, it is one of the things, like you mentioned. I think one of the challenges is that everything's evolving so fast these days, and you can't be an expert at everything. And you go back and engage in this process, like maybe it's been a couple months since you released something, or maybe it's been a year, and you're like, I don't remember what I'm doing. This doesn't even look the same. And platforms come in and out of relevance. I think some of the strategies around Spotify, or even if Spotify matters to you, that's a conversation that a lot of people are having, because if I'm not going to get paid and I'm not getting much traction there anyway, maybe that's just wasted effort. Maybe I should focus my efforts on other places. Not saying I wouldn't put my music there, but maybe, a handful of years ago, it was all about Spotify playlist. And even that ecosystem has changed drastically in how the platform works. So strategies are always changing, how people are engaging, what's working, especially with these social platforms. We may be down a social platform come a week from come on Monday, or actually on Sunday, the day of reckoning for TikTok, and it's not looking good. Not
My,
looking.
my my daughter got a text message from a friend last night, and she doesn't really care about the TikTok news, but it was when the friend said, "We're losing CapCut." My daughter freaked out. We were in the car. She's like, "What? The TikTok ban includes CapCut?" Like,
Yeah, apparently so. But the one thing about CapCut, different than TikTok, is I'm wondering if it's on your computer locally, if it'll still function, but it'll just be like no more updates.
no support. Yeah, I think
That's the
plan
one that
is.
hurts because CapCut made video editing and social content so much more uh, accessible and easier, and not having to use something like Adobe, which was more professional grade.
Yeah. Well, Miles is focusing on writing and recording and playing live, and next year we'll be marketing and releasing. So, okay, you can tune out this broadcast then.
No, Miles, I love that idea. I'm kind of in the same mode as you. I'm like, I can't do all this at once, and I have to accept that. This isn't a competition. This isn't a race. It's your own personal journey. It's a lifelong journey that I know I'm on making music. And so I just have to do it in a way that makes ensures that I'm still growing, getting better, and improving my craft, and not orienting myself where I at the end of the day I'm like, huh, I didn't write and record anything. I didn't get better, but I sure wasted a lot of time on social media or various things that nobody cared about.
Yeah.
Or at the end of the day, didn't really point towards my ultimate goals. So,
Well, I feel like that's a decent segue into the kind of the first big section that we wanted to talk about, which is about goals and priorities and how you spend your time, because you can't do everything, and that means you can't achieve everything with a new release, whether it's an album or a single. And not all goals are appropriate at every level. So what I think what we were going to do is say, hey, like, where are you at in your career? And depending on that, we have some sort of suggested priority goals. And if those resonate with you, and if you think, yeah, that sounds right for where I'm at, then you know kind of where to focus your efforts, because again, you can't do it all.
yeah. Hey, Chris, we got some feedback that your mic might be a little quiet. Why don't you turn that up a bit?
Check, 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 check. How's that? Any better?
Oh, that's louder, all right.
Too much?
Maybe a touch much. I don't know. It's hard.
Hello?
It's
Check.
hard for. We appreciate the feedback because the one thing StreamYard does not have is any sort of metering. And when you're listening to yourself talk and someone else, it's really hard to tell how the levels are.
TikTok lives. That's what VPNs are for.
I just got one recently, and been trying it out. It's hit and miss. It's been my experience so far. Not with TikTok, but with accessing content in other locations. But they also ad blockers tend to, or when ads pop up, it can kind of just freeze the internet. But that's a whole different thing.
Sounds like my mic is better.
Ah,
And Stormfall in Massachusetts, working on trying not to be shy with putting myself out there more. Yeah, that's like a big first step emotionally, just to embrace the idea that what you've done is worth sharing in some capacity. It doesn't mean you need to distribute it officially, but just sharing your music can be a big step. So good luck with that one.
yeah. All right. So we have what you started to talk about, like our first section here, were new platforms, new trends. So before you drop your next single, it's a good idea to take a look at the landscape, make a plan, and prepare for your music success, because your assumptions might be wrong. Things change. What's important could be different.
Yeah, so we thought, if you start with an end goal in mind, like if you can only achieve one thing with this song, you can reverse engineer what you're working towards. So, what is the number one hope for the song? And some of the targets that we felt like were appropriate based on different levels of your career. Is this your first single, or maybe one of your first 2 or 3 songs you've ever put out? If that's the case, I think you should focus not on Spotify, not on playlist, algorithmic playlist discovery or anything like that, but simply social discovery. And so focus on building social content about you as an artist and about those songs. It's going to drive discovery on Instagram, on TikTok, if it still exists in the US, on YouTube shorts, things like that. So basically, what I think your priority should be is creating short 15 to 30-second viral style videos that will appeal to total strangers. Because at this point, if you're just putting out your first or second single, almost everyone on the planet is a stranger to you. So, yeah, short viral type videos that are going to hook strangers, and then have some live performance videos you can share occasionally that once people have discovered you, give them a little bit more to dig into so they feel like they're coming to know you as an artist more. And then some behind the scenes content about your songs. So people who have watched those first two kinds of videos, the ones who are really self-selecting and super interested, can dig into your process and really come to know you. But basically, focus on social.
Yeah, I have a question while we're going along. Does anyone listening or watching have a single in the pipeline, like that they're just about to get ready to release? If you do, let us know. I'd love to know when it's coming out, what you're doing, and all that. And by the way, Chris, I don't know if you saw, but Stefan, he's on the road, on tour in West Texas, and he will be at Folk Alliance. Chris and I will be at Folk Alliance.
Nice.
And it's an awesome conference. It's in Montreal this year, up in Canada. And the last time we were there, Chris and I were in Montreal for the Folk Alliance conference. They got 2 feet of snow in a matter of hours.
That was amazing. And both you and I showed up right before.
Yes, it was right before. But they know how to deal with snow there. So that's like getting 2 inches here where I live. The town shut down. Well, actually, it'd probably take 5 feet to shut down Montreal, where here 2 inches shuts down the city.
Hey, Charlie in the UK, how's it going?
Mark Lester just weighed in saying that he possibly in the next couple of months. I've got a song I'm wrapping up today that will be out hopefully the week after next. So I'm getting ready to drop one as well.
And Malia's got a single coming out next week. Use the Spotify pitching tool. So that's, I'll talk about that in a second. Basically, if it's one of your first singles, focus on social content. What's the next? If you're working towards an album and you've established a bit of an audience and you're using the singles to build towards that album, then I think what your focus should be on is using the single and your social content to drive leads, by which I mean capturing people's emails so you can build an audience off of a platform and eventually sell to them when you have your final album out. And so some of the ways you could use the single to capture leads or to capture emails is as a lead magnet, which is, sign up for my list and you'd be the first to hear the new song. You could even involve people ahead of the launch to solicit feedback for the single with surveys, inviting people to collaborate in some way. Or, gate the content if you've got a video for the song, whatever it is. But basically, I think, to reiterate the first point, if you've got a bit of momentum going already, what you can position the single for is to start building an audience where you own the relationship with the fan.
Yeah. I don't think we specifically stated, but this section that we're talking about now is our header title for it is Start with a Goal in Mind. I think one of the things that really hurts artists with their releases and not getting the results they wanted is they have no goal in mind. And yes, we all want a bazillion streams for our tracks. We all want to make money, but you need to be more specific and actionable around it. Some of the things that I think I've seen a lot of chatter by, the guru talking heads, do what I say and you'll be super famous, people on Instagram. Some of them are a bit extreme, but one of the threads that's been popping up in a consistent theme is that so many people, they take all their marketing efforts and release efforts and they're only thinking about like discovery mode. Like I'm only going to I'm just trying to find new listeners. Mm-hmm. And they totally neglect the opportunities with people that they have. And that could be a very small group of people. It could be a large group of people. But I think that's one thing that streaming has done is that it's wired people to think solely about discovery. I just need to get it on there and get in a playlist so new people will find me. And they don't think about how to get people who already love my music or have engaged with it to go deeper. They don't market their back catalog. They don't use new releases to prop up new catalog, or even just how, your goal, like this track I have coming out it's an instrumental. It's got some vocalization stuff in it, but it's not a track that I would say, I think it's awesome. but it's not the track I would lead with, say, this is who I am, which means it's probably not a discovery piece, but it might have uses other places.
Well, you're talking about people who are constantly obsessed with discovery, and I do think that's the appropriate obsession for your first single, or maybe your first 2 or 3 singles, when literally everyone has to discover you because you don't have existing fans. Um, but when you stay in that mode past that point, there's a few reasons it's detrimental, but one of them is just that you're spending a lot of effort on that outreach to new people. Whereas if you return to your audience, if you establish an audience, those people are way more likely to buy your stuff, to listen to your song, to watch your video, to take any action, tune into your live stream, all the things you want people to do. Your existing audience is, I don't even know, 100 times more likely to do that thing than someone who's a complete stranger still. So you're basically wasting the opportunity to get the easy results if you ignore your audience and focus on outreach.
But yeah, and I think that's where how that ends up playing out is people just frantically screaming, "Go listen to my track," on various social media and feeling like nothing's happening. It's like, yeah, because the people you're screaming to are like, who's this person? As opposed to trying to build some sort of groundswell with the people that already like your music and engaging them and like, let's do something together. You guys love this music. I'm trying to make more of it. Let's partner together to make this go further.
Yeah, I was going to talk. So we've had the first artist type who has no fans. They're new. They should be focusing on social to drive engagement and just broad outreach. Once you've got an established career or a little bit of momentum, your effort should be placed on getting people's contact information and building an audience off platform. Then if you go to the third level of artist who is past the emerging phase, they've got some things to brag about, I think that's the appropriate time to focus on Spotify or on streaming. Is like, use the content that you've created a sufficient amount of content to build an audience on social. So dig through that stuff and see what was the most successful at driving new engagement, and start using that as ads that then get people to Spotify and build up the Spotify numbers while still continuing to do the other two things, general outreach and capturing leads. And then I would say the fourth tier, kind of the final step for an indie artist is like, okay, I've arrived, I'm successful, I'm good on Spotify, I'm good at capturing leads, I'm good at getting attention, and all that's working. Now what do? Well, sell to people. Unlimited or limited edition t-shirts, albums, whatever it is. But you can use the launch of a new single to make limited edition merch that will kind of only exist for a month or 3 months around that single. You can make bonus cassettes. There's ways of making both physical and digital goods around a single launch, and that's the time to make money.
Yeah, I think you point to something that's really important. But before I comment on that, if you're just joining us, you're watching the Music Careers Study Group. Say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. If you're releasing a single soon, let us know, or an album. We're talking about release strategies. And if you've had some success or some ideas that have worked, weigh in. This is about sharing ideas and everybody learning from one another. And definitely give it a thumbs up or a like so more artists will see this. Stefan's releasing a song on the 31st.
On the first day of Folk Alliance.
Oh,
an original song.
Yeah, that is the first day of Folk Alliance. So are you
intentional?
Is maybe so. Stefan, is there going to be a party? Do Chris and I get invited? Will there be free drinks? At Folk Alliance, there's no wanting for alcohol because it's everywhere and it's all free. So it's
anti-music industry songs for Christ Jesus. I'd be happy to do this if people want to share things that we could quickly look at. If it's like a super long bio, or we probably
we won't have time. Yeah,
I'm happy to take a look. So just put the. There's an issue.
Well, on YouTube, you can on YouTube. You can't. No, you can't on YouTube. You can on Facebook, I think is what it is.
So maybe just tell me what to Google.
Yeah.
Or spell it out. .com.
Yeah. Okay, so you were talking about these different levels, and so I think one of the big release trends that I've been seeing, and it sort of started with social media, but I think people are getting more intentional is that a lot of artists are starting to build a groundswell around a song before releasing it to Spotify. And they're doing things to get that excitement, engagement. It's sort of like the social version of what it used to be when if you didn't go play live, you didn't exist. Back in the day when I started in music, if you wanted to be a recording artist, unless you were somebody that a pop artist that they just picked and sort of put something together, chances are you were out playing live somewhere and you were building an audience and getting people excited and they liked the songs. And the only way they could hear it is if they came to see you live, and that sort of propelled you to the next step. I think one of the things about where we are with the industry and access that independent artists have is they often see artists who are further ahead in their career and they try to emulate that and get frustrated because they don't see the same response. It's like, well, you got to build that groundswell. And so maybe your strategy is to just create some cool visuals along with your music or live performance of them, along with some recordings that are just on social. And you get people going, I really love this. Where can I get it? And then you start thinking about, now I have what I need to build some momentum to release it and get some excitement going towards it. So I think that's one of the key things to keep in mind, like where are you at, what's your goal is like putting all your efforts on, it's on Spotify, go to Spotify, it's like, there's lots of things on Spotify. I'm being asked, we have messaging in our faces from morning till night these days. I'm being told to do a lot of things that'll make me happier, healthier, more fulfilled. Most of them do not.
Well, and to be clear, the advice you're giving does contradict what we would have told people maybe 3 years ago, which was, if you're going to say anything about the song on social, wait till it's out, because why are you going to waste the song's coming on Friday? Who cares? I can't do anything with it. As opposed to once it's out, you can say, hey, song's out, go listen. But something about our social usage over the past few years, I'm not exactly sure how to tie it to psychology, but it feels like we're in a phase now where what you're talking about, that kind of advanced teasing, building the story beforehand, is effective again. And again, I don't know why that changed, but I'm glad it's this way again, because that's just fun to do. That whole like building anticipation and mystery is just cool.
Yeah. Stefan said he'll have a pocket whiskey and we'll find us to celebrate after his official show. Well, let us know when your official showcase is. Chris and I will be at a Reverb Nation booth there, and we'll have freebies and things that we're going to be doing. So definitely stop by and say hi, and we'll try and check out your showcase. Yeah, you know what? I think part of it is, Chris, is that it's sort of the lot. We've had this era where everyone's trying to go viral. And even now going viral probably doesn't mean as much as it did at some point. And probably doesn't have the same impact. And I feel like what I've seen that's worked on me and that's been interesting to see is like comparing it to radio for many years, and still can be for some people, traditional radio, broadcast radio was the main discovery platform. It was all, that's where you discovered new music by and large, maybe in print magazines, or on a website, but as radio. But when you think about that more, how many times did you hear a song where the first time you're like, don't care? Then you hear it again because that's the only thing you're listening to, and you're like, here it is. No, it's all right. Then you hear it again, like, okay, I'm kind of understanding what they're going for here. I'm kind of digging it. And then it eventually becomes a song you really, really like. I think on social media, I've seen more artists take that approach by here's a chorus here with a cool video. Here's that same chorus, me playing live. Here's that chorus with a different visualization. Here's like, it comes down the people's feed daily. They hear that song and they start to get attached to it. They start to understand it. People don't instinctively just automatically love a song they've heard for the first time. That's very rare. And so I think that approach is what I've been seeing people do to then set up the song to drive the traffic to a Spotify or another streaming platform.
Boy Graham, going viral is ruining music. Artists with little to no understanding of how to make music blow up, then have too many expectations and fall off. I just want fans that will stick by me It's important.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the dangers of viral attention in a way, is that oftentimes the content that goes viral is so unattached to the music or to the artistry. It's, a gimmick, it's a joke, it's even if it is related to the music, it's going viral for a reason usually besides simply the quality of the music. And so a lot of that attention is meaningless when it comes to actually driving the results for music that matter. So
Yeah.
I
Mark
agree with you.
says, well said. And Stormfall 8 or 13. Is that a 13? It says facts.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in our private conversations, Chris and I will laugh about that a lot because there's been some very public artists that he will even say that that's what's happened to them. They just wrote a chorus. They didn't even have a full song. They wrote a chorus and it went viral, and now they got to go write finish the song, and they're getting offers from managers and labels, and
Major
that's
labels.
all. They only have a chorus. They don't even have a full song, much less a catalog of music to make an album.
And then the best moment is always when this artist has to go and play a festival gig. They're like, well, I have
Yes.
2.5 songs.
That which if you've heard of the artist Jake, it's he spells it with a V, an upside down V. There's a little documentary about him that I'm sure you can find on YouTube. That's exactly what happened to him. He got offered this big festival spot and he only had 3 songs because he got really good at kind of social engineering these viral moments. And I have sort of a love-hate relationship with that documentary. There's certain things I love about it. What I do love about it is how he really tapped in how to connect music to an emotional response and show that visually that works on social media. The hate part is that, yeah, it's like you want, you should at least have a little bit before like Coachella is asking you to headline, have more than 3 songs. All right.
Yeah. Well, one thing I know we wanted to talk about is, so we discussed starting with the goal in mind and having 4 different types of career stature and what you should prioritize. But all 4 of those artist types, no matter where you're at, you're going to need a story. You're going to need some sort of promotion angle. You're going to need content to support your priority goal. And you can't do that effectively unless you know what your story and your brand are. So we recommend every time you put out a new single is to back up again and figure out the story and the brand for the song. And so start by telling yourself the story of your song. Open up a Word doc or a voice memo or however you can get your thoughts out and just ramble. Like, tease out all the different angles and the different hooks that could lead someone into your music. And they could be emotions, what you were feeling, what the song's supposed to evoke. It could be the meaning of the song. It could be any rules you broke musically or in your own life to get this song made. It could be the gear you used, just anything you can think about this song. Just get it down. Then I would say try to find the 2, 3, 4 most interesting angles that you rambled about and distill them in a way where you can appeal to lots of different kinds of audiences. So the emotional angle might be the thing for your average listener or your average person on social. The crazy gear you used might be an awesome story to get this song in front of gear forums or music magazines or something. Basically, imagine you are a publicist working for yourself and you want to pitch to both music publications and non-music publications. So think about all those things. Then once you've got these stories, make some content informed by this very rooted sense of how you can, distill what your song is about.
Yeah, agree. And we'll get there's a lot to dive into that, but we got a bunch of comments pouring in based on what we said just a second ago. Boy Grim, I agree. It's very easy to get upset about this as an artist when you've been doing it for a while and feel like you make music that's worth listening to, and you just can't get anybody to pay attention, and it's really hard. I mean, listen, I've sent Chris here 3 MP3s of my new song as I've been finishing up, and he has yet to listen to it. And I'm like, dang it, if I can't get Chris to push the play, if I can't get Chris to push the play button, what am I even doing at this point?
Wait. In my defense, you sent them over the past 2 days, which were
Mhm.
very busy. And I don't like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't like to do the thing where I'm like listening while distracted. I want to actually pay attention so I can have meaningful things to say. And so I'm
Okay.
waiting.
Okay. Um, let's see. We had Miles said, instead of viral, can I just have people that follow me see when I post? That'd be swell. Looking at you, Facebook. Yeah, that is one of the things that's frustrating about any social platform, because you you you're gonna run into the idea that usually when it's early on, Chris, I should have been the one with the piano playing sob music when when you were giving your lame explanation. Anyway, when you know, like TikTok, when it's brand new, everyone's adopting it because it is a little different, especially when you have a new account. It automatic Your first post will go to a lot more people. Your second post will go to no one. But it makes you feel like, oh, this will push me further than just who can reach. But then over time, when they need to make money, they start clamping that down. That you got to start paying for reach, and Facebook is horrible with that. And yeah, we Chris and I have done some testing with like, uh, we don't need to get in the whole backstory of Reverb Nation, but we're sort of revitalizing this brand, and it has over 1 million followers on Facebook. But when we post on that page, zero people see it, like zero. And you're like, that's a waste of time. That's a waste of time. So, yeah, it would be nice to just get people to see it. So that's where I think, again, thinking about that goal, I want people to see this. Where does that start? That can start hyper local. That could start with just texting a track to people that you like, hey, I want you to hear this. This is what I'm working on. I've been, my band, Small Town Poets, we have a super fan that's been super encouraging and really lifted us up in times when we're like, why do we keep doing this? I had a track that I did over Christmas that wasn't released. Came out way better than I expected, and I just sent it to him. And I'm like, hey man, this is something I did. I want you to have it because I appreciate you. And man, that made his day, blew his mind. And so I think you can look for opportunities like that, even on the micro level, to start building that groundswell. Your music and your expression of music is bigger than just the rules some industry makes about how the major labels are going to play and get compensated for music. So think about how you can look at it differently. But you made some points, Chris, about your like getting your like story, all that stuff down. I think that's why that's important, is that that's when you can get creative about where are the connecting points. Because a lot of times as an artist, when you're just starting, like the record my band's currently working on, I used this guitar pedal that I bought a new guitar pedal. It's got a very unique sound. It's amazing. Um, and I was playing it on the record and had a video clip of it and was just totally digging the sound. I posted it. I tagged that company and they reposted it. It's like those kind of opportunities are there if you just think about all the ways and all the inroads and the things you're using, where you did it, and we often try to just engage like we're a major label just trying to mass market something with sheer financial will to just blanket the universe with our image of Beyonce or something like that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like about telling myself and then telling the world the story of a single song is that it focuses your mind. When you say, "Oh, I've got this album. What am I going to do to promote it?" That's a big story. Even like we went to the studio. Now, are you supposed to remember all 2 weeks or however long you spent? How do you tell the story of something that big? Whereas a single gives the opportunity to be like, "Here's my scope of vision. It's these lyrics, this meaning. I remember these particular moments from recording this song." So just everything gets more focused. The videos you can make, the social content get, yeah, just I think more. I think you can be more creative when you're more focused. Then the cool thing that happens is if you do multiple singles that way, um, a larger story can build that you notice, and then the story of your album is kind of pre-written. So
Yeah, and honestly, kind of the headspace I've been in when it comes to the story elements. Um, if anyone cares, I've got another artist persona that all my own personal tracks I'm putting through called Red Machine. You can look it up on Spotify. One of the things that I finally gave myself the freedom. I'm like, I'm music, being in music is just nonstop rejection. So I'm going to start from the place of rejection. Everyone's going to hate this. And I'm not doing it in like the everyone's going to hate this. I'm like, I'm just going to assume that nobody cares. So that gives me the freedom to do whatever I want and just have fun with it. And I think from that point, what it does is it unleashes your creativity to go places because you're not trying to cater to someone else. You're just wanting to do what you want to do and love. And that's what's attractive to people. They don't want to see people that are just trying to go through the motions. They want to see people that are passionate about something, that are just having the time of their lives, making music, expressing themselves, and trying new things. And if it fails, well, that's probably what would have happened anyway if I'd spent $10,000 marketing it and getting, Facebook ads, and because we've done a lot of things. Maybe not 10 grand. You'll probably get some people with 10 grand, but the idea being that I just gave myself the freedom to say, you know what, I'm going to send this to people, and if they don't like it, I don't care, because chances are I wouldn't have liked it either if someone said it to me. That most of the music out there I don't like, so that means it's going to take a while to find the right people and for the thing to connect, and just not worry about rejection, because it's going to happen no matter what in music. I remember when our band Small Town Poets, we were nominated for a Grammy. We were on all the magazines. We were all over the radio, and still people would write bad album reviews. And I wanted to hunt them down and be like, what's your problem? And you're realizing it doesn't matter. There's always going to be somebody that hates what you're doing. So just accept it and just do what you do, and enjoy the process and have joy making music.
Well, that in preserving the passion, like you're talking about, is two related points to what I said above. Is once you know the story of the song, you should give yourself permission to do things very differently for a single release. There's no rule that says you have to officially distribute it to Spotify and Apple Music. If this song is best used, like as you did, Kevin, just sending it to fans directly or sending it to friends. If it's best used as a lead magnet, like, hey, get the song that you can't get anywhere else. You'll never hear this on Spotify. Like, that incentive might be the thing that actually drives up your email subscriptions, is the fact that this is rare and special. And the same thing with telling the story or anything. Just every new single is an opportunity to reassess what you get enjoyment out of and to focus on that. Same goes for content creation. Again, like if you've dialed in the story and the brand of the song, there's no rule that says, okay, go make a bunch of TikTok style videos. Like, if your thing is lyric videos, most people, maybe including us, would say, hey, lyric videos aren't the best thing for outreach. But if that's what you're passionate about, do it. What the hell? Like, who are we to say that you don't have an audience of people out there who can potentially discover you and fall in love with your lyrics because of those videos? So essentially, commit to the things you are motivated and enthusiastic to do, because you'll actually get those things done, as opposed to the things you think you should do, which basically means you'll get nothing done because you'll never do that stuff.
Yeah, and I think one of the key points, because we were talking about building a story, finding the elements. When you lean into that, you start focusing on telling your story instead of trying to please people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what ultimately happens when you let go of, like, you're going to face rejection, so just get over it. If people hate it, I mean, you don't want people to be mean and rude, but sometimes that can make great content as well. But the idea is, like, when you dive into your story, and people love someone that's approaching something confidently. You're like, hey, I am who I am, and this is it. You can like it or not. Your opinion of me is not going to change who I am. I'm going to keep doing what I do confidently, and keep releasing music that I love. Miles left a comment. This is 100% where I'm at. I just want to make music, and if more than 100 people are already listening to it, so great. I've made something I like. That's the thing. Like, I made it because I liked it. At the end of the day, it's like, this music I made didn't exist before, and I like it, so at least I'm satisfying my listening needs. Let's see what Boy Grim says. as far as rollout goes, I want to do more physical media, but it's hard to spend money on that kind of stuff when only maybe 5 out of my 2,000 followers would be interested enough to purchase even for cheap. This is a good point that Boyd Grimm brings up that we didn't have on our notes, but there's, I think, there's been a resurgence of physical media. We've all seen the vinyl resurgence, but I have 2 teenage daughters, and this Christmas they asked for 2 records on vinyl.
Wow.
And last year at Christmas, a year ago, we were in Barnes & Noble, which has a rather large vinyl section now. And they were looking at it and they're like, we should buy a record. I ended up buying Jimi Hendrix. What's the name of the album? It's his best one. It's the last one. Yes. And anyway, I just said it's his last one. He's only released like 1,000 albums after that since passing away. But I watched them stand there and go, oh, it feels good to hold it. Like they were saying these things. I didn't put these thoughts in their head. I haven't said, hey, come play. Look, I've got CDs. Don't you want to? They were like, oh, it feels good to hold it. Oh, look at this. Look at all this extra artwork. And they'd hold the record. And there is a tactile thing to music that younger generations have not experienced. And I think doing some testing with that, because I know a lot of people like my band were like, we typically get CDs because we have some older fans and they want CDs. But I think there's an opportunity with younger audiences if you market it in a way like you can hold it, you can touch it, it can sit on the shelf, you can see it. It's your favorite album. You like looking at it and thinking about all the times you've listened to it and gone to the shows. And
well, it's harder to do that with a single unless it's like a cassette single in terms of physical music media formats. But a single can still be a chance to do a limited edition T-shirt, hats, a postcard, whatever. There's lots of physical media you can sell around a single. Hey, one thing I was thinking of, this is in relation to telling your story and creating content, is I think an underutilized resource is your collaborators. So if you worked with a band or producer or whoever, or guest artist, you really should galvanize their support. They can help you create content. They can help share your message. They can remind you of studio stories. You may have forgotten that the funniest thing that happened was on this song when they were singing their backup vocal or whatever. So just talking to everyone who worked on the release as you're building the story can be really useful. So don't forget to lean on collaborators.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people join in recently. You were watching the Music Career Study Group. If you haven't, weigh in on the comments, say hi, where you're watching from. We're talking about releasing tracks and albums and strategies around that. And let's see, we've got more comments here. Barry has a question. Oh, wait, maybe I missed part of it. Hold on. Let's see. Choopy the Slug says, Amen. I'm able to make lyrics and sing them, and I can hear the music and instruments in my head, but I'm not able to play instruments, so I published my songs without instruments, and I'm really happy I did. You need to check out BandLab. Our sister company, BandLab, is amazing for this because I play guitar. That's my main instrument, but it has things where you can like some AI features where you can do like voice to MIDI. So you can sing a melody line, say like, which I do all the time. I'll be using it and I'll be like, okay, I want a keyboard maybe, or a synth, or maybe strings, or maybe some other instrument. And I just sing in a melody, hit voice to MIDI, changes it to MIDI, and I can assign any instrument to it. And there's thousands of sample packs that are free and all sorts of other tools that really help. As it basically, as I describe it a lot to people, it's like it helps you take those ideas in your head and actualize them into reality, regardless of, I don't have to be an expert at this instrument in order to get that idea out of my head. So I definitely recommend checking out BandLab.
Boy, Graham, I'm thinking about doing postcards. Yeah, I have been for when I start releasing singles again.
Yeah, and I was trying to look up. I was in Italy recently, and I'm trying to think of the exhibit they took us to. Where is it? Puccini. Yeah. Wrote Madame Butterfly, but it was this amazing exhibit that mind-blowing because he and his publisher really birthed the modern music industry, and he was doing things like Postcards, and they were a big hit at these. That was like one of his big merch pieces was Postcards. People would buy them like crazy. And so some of those kind of things you might try. You can get postcards printed very cheaply.
And would he sell them at his opera or
Mm-hmm.
whatever symphonic performances?
Oh yeah.
And you,
I just lost you, Chris. Was anyone else hearing Chris? I just totally lost him right in the middle of that sentence. While Chris is figuring out his issue, well, can everybody hear me? That would be a question I have, because maybe I'm the one that you're muted now.
How about now?
Now you're back. Now you're back.
I'm on the wrong side, though. I'm on the wrong side of history. There we go.
There we go. I don't know what happened. You just went away. What were you saying?
I was just curious if he was selling the postcards at gigs, as if Puccini had gigs,
Yeah.
so that people could use them themselves, or if he was mailing them to his audience.
Yeah, no, they were merch items. Like you buy them, and they actually had a collection of some original ones and it was a cool idea. It was one of those things where I just went along because I'm like, I'm in a foreign country and they invited the speakers to go do this thing at this old opera house. I'm like, sure, I'm going to do that. But I didn't expect it to be so inspiring and like understand like this guy was so innovative in what they were doing to market these operas, especially beyond just the elites. It was pretty fascinating. All right, we've got one more section that we need to hit, and then and if there's any questions, get them in now. So Chris, we have a section here about picking the right distributor and timelines.
Yes. So depending on what you want to achieve with this single, you will need sufficient time. So it is okay to have finished a song, be excited, and want to get it out. If you're really set on that, give yourself at least 2 weeks, I'd say, for anything to go wrong, for you to provide all the information, for it to get delivered on time. But if you're serious about the streaming side of attention, I would say give yourself at least 4 weeks so that you can do the whole Spotify pitching thing. And then beyond that, if you have a lot of PR stuff in the works, then 6 weeks or more is a good idea. And basically that just allows you to work with your distributor to get your music to these DSPs as soon as possible, so all the other on-platform bells and whistles that they provide can be fully utilized.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that distributors have different features and functions and time frames, and allowing yourself plenty of time to sort that out. You want to make sure you have the correct file that is the correct file. I've messed this up myself. Like I upload the file and realize, dang it, I had 3 seconds of silence at the beginning of that I forgot to trim off after the mastering engineer sent it back.
Oh, yeah. Kevin's unnamed song _mix_17 wasn't the actual final mix?
Yes.
Or final mix _28 wasn't the final one?
Yeah. I've seen those naming conventions where, it gets truncated and it looks like final mix, but then that was final mix _3. We're on 25 now. I grabbed the wrong one. So yeah, really, take your time, make sure they're all correct, listen, get your artwork in order, because then you'll have a much better release process. But
we should back up even further though, because one of the things is choosing the distributor. And you may think that all distributors are created equal. What do? They take your file and they put it on Spotify and everywhere else. To some degree, that's true. That the differences in the service aren't really all that dramatic. The differences in support and can you get a hold of someone if anything goes wrong, if you made a mistake or, glitches happen, it's the internet. If anything goes wrong, can you actually get a hold of someone who will see your message, respond in time, and actually proactively fix the issue? That is a minor miracle in this modern world. And it still exists. Here's a commercial at Reverb Nation.
Yes.
We've got a distribution as part of our service and a great support team.
Yeah. And since we're among friends, you can just reach out to Chris and I, and we can help you. But yes, those things matter. And especially if you're new and maybe running into stuff where you're unsure of what it is, it's helpful to be able to talk to somebody. And yeah, because if there's an issue, you might be stuck. But yeah, at Reverb Nation, you can release, there's options where you can just release a track or an album, or if you're become a premium member, you get unlimited music distribution and you can release as much music as you want.
Well, and speaking of that, that is one other thing I wanted to say on this topic of releasing singles is with unlimited distribution through Reverb Nation, it gives you the opportunity to follow up on your single release with a bunch of supporting content. So these would be things like sped up versions or acoustic demos or alternate mixes, remixes if you make the stems available and find some remixers. All these things are things you can either officially release or use as lead magnets, like we mentioned before. But again, with unlimited distribution, you don't have to kind of worry about it. You just put out as much stuff as you have ready to go.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the cool things about the streaming world. Setting aside maybe some of the negative things people have about it, is that it's made every release not be so precious. Because when back in the day, when it was like, even still in the Apple iTunes download store, it's like you weren't going to have a bunch of alternate mixes or live versions or sped up versions sitting there. Or you definitely weren't putting that on a CD because you didn't have space for it. But in the streaming era, and even thinking about not even using a streaming service, just thinking about how can I create another engagement piece? How can I give somebody another way into this song? And that's what I like about alternate versions. It's not just about having another track out there. It's another way to get people to push the play button, to listen to the track again, maybe from a different angle. Maybe they're more of an acoustic type person and you've got an acoustic version of the song. And now they just get to enjoy that this is just a great song.
Well, and it's fun too, if they like the song already, it's fun to listen to other options the artist had. To what choices did they make along the way to get to their finished official version. So alternate versions are great for that context.
Yeah, I agree. I'm big on live tracks. I've got a whole playlist I have where I just dump live tracks by artists that I love. And so whenever an artist I like has a really good live album, I'm definitely in on it. I wish more artists would release live albums, because they just have a totally different energy, and you can hear the contrast between, because as an artist who makes records, you have to make choices from the recorded version to the live version of how you're going to perform it. And I always love hearing like how bands take what they did in the studio and turn it into a live experience.
So Charlie's wondering, he had some 7 tracks demoed out of Nashville. Would Spotify be the way to introduce the songs? So I forget, Charlie, if you've ever put anything else out before this. If these are your first songs, I would say no. Don't. I mean, you could put it on Spotify, but don't make that the goal. I think if these are new songs from what is a new artist to most people, then you might want to focus on that first step we mentioned, where your efforts are focused on social attention. So creating content around those songs that you put out on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, whatever it might be, and tell the story of those songs and build an audience that will then want to hear it on Spotify. But don't expect Spotify to do the kind of algorithmic reach work for you.
Yeah, exactly. We're coming up close to the end of our time here at the Music Career Study Group. If there are any final questions, get them in now. Chris, we have some resources. Did we post those?
Oh, you know what? We didn't. I'll grab them right now.
Yeah, we have some resources that will help dive you deeper into some of these things, that will be helpful if you're getting ready to release music and planning your release. If you were going to be at Folk Alliance in Montreal in February, we will be there and we would love to hang out. We do the Music Career Study Group every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I'll be at the NAMM show in Anaheim next week. I'll be speaking on Saturday. If you're going to be in LA and at the NAMM show, I'd love to see you. I'd love to come out, and going to be talking about music marketing and defining success and ROI and all that. And it should be a good session.
Yeah, so I put 2 links in here. The first is a music distribution checklist, which is much more than a checklist. It'll answer a lot of the questions you'll have about releasing new music. So look at that one. And then as for what you will need to prepare regarding metadata behind the scenes, check out this article that I put in the comments. Metadata sounds intimidating, but it's just information about your music. So a lot of it is stuff you'll be able to provide simply by just talking about your music. What does it sound like? Sounds like artists. What is the song titles? Stuff like that.
Mark has a good question. Are Reverb Nation and BandLab cross compatible? Like, can you make a track with BandLab and then carry it right over to? There's not a way to export directly, but I do both. BandLab, if you're a member of BandLab, also has unlimited music distribution. It's a little bit more streamlined distribution, where Reverb Nation is more of like what traditional distribution, like you've probably seen or used at other places. But BandLab, you can use either. These days, a lot of my tracks are starting in BandLab. BandLab's great. I've been trying to challenge myself to spend less time on nonsense on the internet that just wastes my time and hijacks my brain, and into making tracks. So I pop open BandLab, I'll put a beat together, I'll get some ideas going, and then build out a song, because it's super fast and easy to, like, the effects, the AI tools, the beats and sample packs in there are great, and it's all free.
Miles is plugging another feature of BandLab.
Oh yeah, the mastering tool is insane. They just updated it, and I used it recently. I'm like, holy crap, this is so good. So yeah, so I do a lot of like pre-production and production there. Then I usually move things into Pro Tools to do the final touches and record some things that might be easier in that format. And then this new track I have, I think I'm going to distribute through BandLab and not Reverb Nation. I thought about that. I'm not sure yet.
My most recent single I distributed through BandLab. Hey, Anti-Music Industry never shared his marketing assets for us to workshop, but
yeah,
in the future, if you have things that relate to the topic we're on and you want us to take a look at, if we're talking about email marketing, you want us to look at your welcome email or something, it'd be fun to kind of live workshop stuff.
Yeah, the idea that we want is that for artists to come to this prepared, to have a conversation, to dive in, get feedback. Like, I've got this thing. Like, if our topic of the day is boring and your question's better, we'll just go down that road, because we want to be here to help artists. We want to be here to learn from each other, because through my career and our career is in the indie distribution world and the indie scene, a lot of the stuff that we've learned is just from other artists saying, I did this thing. There's this new platform called YouTube, and now I don't even have to tour anymore. I'm doing all this stuff. And I'm like, stop what you're doing and tell me everything about it. I want to know and I want to learn about it. So that's kind of the idea for this. So you can bring your questions and know that we'll be here, and you can get free help, free strategy advice, and other artists can cheer you on, and we can all enjoy the process together.
All right, Mark, enjoy your visit to BandLab. Don't forget about us over at Reverb Nation.
Chris and I work for the parent company that owns both, so it's all good. It's all in the family. It's all in the family. So anyway, I think that brings us to the end. We hope this has been helpful. It's been great chatting with all of you and interacting with you. We'll be back next week. Do we have a topic yet?
Not yet.
Any topics you want us to cover? You've got like 30 seconds to throw it in the comments, and we can make it happen. But yeah, next Thursday we'll be here, and we hope to see you, and bring some friends, because the more that come, the more we learn from each other. So, all right.
Yeah. Good to see everyone. And if anyone posts a comment that we can see in the next 60 seconds. We'll consider it for next week.
It'll show up after we stop the broadcast too, so we'll still see it.
All right.
Thank you.
See
All
ya.
right, we'll see you.